Hey guys, finally finished up a long overdue project. I cleaned up and put a handle on this old, basically a blacksmith hammer that I found while putting in the garden last spring, and just wanted to show you how it came out and talk a little bit about the project. Of course, this is an old straight peen hammer. You know, it's got flat on one side, kind of a pointed on the other, and it was just completely encrusted in junk. And so what I did was I let the head soak for quite a while in vinegar, and then I took to it with sandpaper, and that wasn't going anywhere. So eventually I had to dig out the angle grinder and hit it with a sandpaper belt, and that was able to take it down to what you see now. But as you can see, there's still, you know, there's some spots where there's some nice shiny metal, but there's a lot of places where there's still that like black oxide, which is like that really hardened kind of rust on there that just I haven't been able to get off yet. And it probably will over time. You know, I'll probably, you know, use this a little bit and then hit it up a couple more times, and then eventually over, you know, a little bit it'll soften up and come off. And so you can see it kind of came out. It has a really nice used look to it. You know, there's still some pits in there with some rust, and you know, it's not perfect. You know, when I restore a project, I don't want them to look brand new. I don't want it to be shiny metal. I don't want it to look like that. I want it to look like an antique. I want it to look like this is hanging in someone's garage. Well, in this case, this is in the dirt for you know, probably decades, so I don't want it to look brand new. I want it to have this look to it. So I really like that look. As you can see here, there's some metal, and that will patina up pretty quickly. And you know, as you can see, I ground the back down because it wasn't very flat, so I flattened that up a little bit. So there's that. And let's talk about the handle. The handle is actually a recycled handle from an axe. That's actually a broken 2-bit axe handle because it happened to be very close to the eye size, so I was able to work that in. And I stained this with nothing more than coffee and boiled linseed oil. So I took a cup and put some coffee grounds on the bottom, then poured in some boiled linseed oil, mixed it all together, and did a couple of really thin coats. And now that that's dried up, I'm going to put some you know, just pure boiled linseed oil on it and seal it nice and good. As you can see, it's all checked up. You know, it's all kind of, it's got that look of an old weathered handle, which is exactly what I wanted. I don't want it to look brand new. I don't want a brand new handle on it. So I you know, kind of recycled that old one, and it has a real nice old look to it, as you can see. And I left the imperfections in. You know, I could have sanded these out, but I didn't. I didn't want it to look perfect. I wanted it to look, you know, vintage. And the coffee stain, I think, and the linseed oil gives it a really nice look. And just the handle being old and all checked and all that. And that's, a lot of that's going to go away as the wood rehydrates, you know, as the linseed oil soaks in over time. Because at this point, as you can see, it's still taking in linseed oil. It's not done. You know, I will keep pouring it on until it stops accepting it. But it's probably going to take a lot more to rehydrate the wood and seal it. So it may take a coat a day for a week before it's finally done. But either way, I do like the look. It's got a really nice antique look to it. And this whole project did not cost me $1 because I found the hammer head. I recycled the handle, and then I used coffee grounds for a stain, and then the linseed oil I already had. So, you know, literally didn't cost me a penny. And as for use, this thing isn't going to see heavy use around the homestead. This is a peening hammer. Now, one of the things, guys, this head, this steel is hard as hell. It took a lot of work to get any steel off there and get down. You know, when you get down to this bare steel here, oh man, it is hard steel. But that's the purpose of a peening hammer. It's meant to shape metals. This is a really super hard steel. And so what am I going to use it for? That's exactly what I'm going to use it for peening, shaping metal, maybe if I'm ever breaking up bricks or shaping bricks or cement or anything like that, I might use this, but it's not a sledgehammer. It's not meant to be a sledgehammer, and I'm not going to use it that way. That's why I put the short little 12-inch handle on it. You know, you can see a little bit of a palm swell there too. I'm not going to use it like a sledge. I'm going to use it for that close-up, you know, kind of peening work, as it kind of would have been originally intended. It probably would have had a little bit of a longer handle for someone who was using it in the shop, you know, that way they can get their hands away from the hot steel. But I'm not a blacksmith, so I did kind of put this on real quick. And the last thing I wanted to mention was this thing was one of the most difficult projects to hang I've ever had. The eye on top and bottom are pretty much the same size, so it made hanging this very difficult, because when you put, you know, the handle in, you know, if you got it to fit to the bottom, it was the same size at the top, so I had to shave a lot off the top to get it to be able to accept a wedge. Because normally what happens is, because the bottom is smaller than the top, if you're able to squeeze through the bottom, then usually the top, you know, you'll have plenty of room for that wedge. I was able to get this thing all the way in and have it come out proud, but not had enough room for a wedge, so I had to go back and remove a ton of material off the handle just to make it wedgeable, which made the top of the handle very, very thin. As you can see, there's very little material up there, and it's a huge wedge, which I don't like. As you see, I made a big mess of it trying to get that wedge in, because the material around it's so thin, and I'm trying to squeeze in such a big wedge. I had to kind of custom make the wedge to even fit the job, so it was actually surprisingly difficult. And you know, it's obviously, you know, having this thin of a handle on this, you're not going to use it as a sledgehammer. I just don't know if that handle would last long enough, being that thin, and the eye being so small. The eye is really, you know, pretty small for this. So I guess that would be the end of it, the project. It was fun. You know, it took a little bit of time, you know, because it was such a messed up, dirty, you know, there's so much, just, you know, it took a long time to get down to metal on this. There was so much just hardened onto it, but I think it has a good look to it. I'm going to hang this up in the garage, you know, kind of make a little board for it and hang it, and you know, I might use it from time to time, but mostly I think it's going to be a little bit of a showpiece, you know, because it did come from my property, and it's probably in the neighborhood of 100 years old. So there you go, guys.